a passport, a spare key, a guest room left empty for 14 years. The eldest daughter did not need to be invited to leave. Noelle Arvin kept a list, not of grievances, of dates. The week her sister flew to Tulum and Noelle fed 2 cats and a goldfish. The 10 days her sister flew to Banff and Noelle ran the Roomba and watered the ferns. The 3 weekends her sister flew to Sedona to Asheville, to a wedding in Charleston, and Noelle slept in her mother's guest room with the light from the porch lamp coming in over her shoulder. She did not write down what she felt. She did not write down what she said. She wrote down the dates and the towns and the names of the animals. The list ran to 11 pages in her smallest, careful script. The earliest date was when she was 14 years old and her sister was 11. The most recent was 3 weeks ago, 2 cats and a parakeet 4 nights. No thank you note when they returned. Her mother called on Thursday. The call lasted 7 minutes. Noelle Arvin did not ask how the work was going. She did not ask about the new client at the dental clinic. She asked whether Noelle could keep the dog through the 2nd week of October. Marin and Trent and the kids were going to a resort outside Tulum. They needed a sitter. They thought of her first. Noelle said yes. She always said yes. She wrote the dates on the wall calendar above the toaster. October 5th through the 14th. 9 days. The dog was a Labradoodle named Captain. Captain ate twice a day and required a 40-minute walk regardless of weather. On Friday, she opened her bank app. She had been opening it once a week for 2 years. The number on the savings line had crossed $8,000 in August and had not stopped climbing. She had not told anyone. Not her mother. Not her sister. Not the Labradoodle. The amount had a private weight she carried alone. A small dense thing tucked under her ribs. She had been saving for one specific thing. Not a kitchen renovation. Not a car. A trip. The trip her mother had talked about every Christmas dinner since Noelle was 14. The Isle of Skye. The Highlands. A bench above the sea where Noelle's own grandmother had once stood in 1961 and written a postcard home. The postcard had hung on the refrigerator until it yellowed and then disappeared into a kitchen drawer Noelle had never opened. On Sunday, she drove to her mother's house. She'd brought a tin of shortbread. The kitchen smelled like rosemary chicken. Marin was already there, perched on the arm of the kitchen chair scrolling. Her 3 children loud in the basement. Trent was on a call in the back office. The Scotland brochure lay open on the table between them. Noelle spoke first. She said she had wonderful news. She had finally decided to do it. She was going to Scotland. Marin was taking her. Trent was paying. The kids were old enough now. They were going next May for 10 days. Noelle was already crying a little. Marin had her phone up, filming her mother's face. Noelle stood in the doorway holding the shortbread. Nobody had turned to greet her yet. Marin glanced up, glanced back at her phone, said over her shoulder that they had thought about inviting Noelle, but she would have hated it. Too much walking, too cold, too long away from the bookkeeping. Besides, somebody had to watch Captain. Noelle did not turn around at the stove. Noelle kept stirring. Noelle said softly that Marin was right. The trip was a lot. The dog needed somebody steady. Noelle was so good with Captain. They had thought of her first. Noelle set the shortbread on the counter. She said congratulations. She said it once. She did not raise her voice. She did not stay for dinner. She walked out the side door and got in her car and drove the 20 minutes home in silence. She did not turn the radio on. She did not cry. She drove. She got home and made tea. She sat at her kitchen table. She opened the notebook to a fresh page. She wrote 1 sentence. Then she opened her laptop. By midnight, she had a passport renewal application started, a hold on a flight to Edinburgh out of Newark, and a draft email to her Aunt Delphine. Delphine Arvin was 61 years old, divorced twice, unbothered, retired postal carrier, and had not been invited on a family vacation in 19 years. The email was 3 lines long. Aunt Delphine, I am going to Scotland in October. Would you come with me? The reply came at 6 in the morning. 1 word. Yes. Noelle did not tell her mother. Noelle did not tell Marin. Noelle booked the flight. She booked the rental car. She booked 4 nights in a small inn outside Portray on the Isle of Skye. She booked the bench above the sea. She paid the deposit on the morning of October 1st. She did not text the family group chat. On October 3rd, her mother called. Captain was being dropped off Saturday. Noelle was so grateful. Noelle said she could not have done the Scotland trip without Noelle holding the home front. Noelle said she would not be home that week. Noelle said, "What do you mean?" Noelle said she had a trip of her own. There was a long silence on the line. Then Noelle asked where. Noelle said Scotland. Noelle laughed. The laugh was sharp. The laugh did not last. Noelle said she was going with Aunt Delphine. They were leaving Saturday morning. Captain would need a different sitter. Linnea said this was not okay. Linnea said Marin had planned this for months. Linnea said Noelle could not just take this from them. Noelle said she was not taking anything. She was going on her own trip. She had paid for her own ticket. She wished her mother a beautiful time in May. She hung up. Within an hour, Marin had texted 37 times. Within 2 hours, Trent had called twice. Within 3 hours, Linnea had emailed a long message asking Noelle to please reconsider. Please be the bigger person. Please not ruin this for Marin, who had worked so hard to plan it. Noelle did not respond. Noelle packed 2 pairs of walking pants, 3 sweaters, a waterproof shell. A yellowed photograph of the woman in the green coat slid into a hardcover book between 2 pages of a chapter she had read 4 times. Her grandmother's old wool scarf, her passport, her debit card. She set the suitcase by the door on Friday night and slept 8 hours for the first time in 2 weeks. Saturday morning, Delphine pulled into the parking lot in the station wagon she called the hearse. She wore walking shoes and a corduroy jacket. She did not ask whether Noelle had told her mother. She loaded the suitcases into the back. She handed Noelle a thermos of black coffee. She said, "Let us go." While Noelle was at 30,000 feet over the North Atlantic, Marin was at her marble-look kitchen island. The Tulum trip began that day. The Labradoodle was at her own house, looking confused. The kennel had a 90-day waiting list. 2 backup sitters had said no. The 3rd backup sitter had ghosted. Trent was on a call in the back office. Trent had not booked the kennel because Marin had said Noelle was handling it. Marin had not actually confirmed with Noelle in writing. Marin had assumed. Trent suggested boarding the dog at a vet clinic for $110 a night. Marin said that was insane. Trent went back to his call. By noon, Marin had called Linnea. By 12:30, Linnea had called the cousin in Schenectady who had a fenced yard. The cousin in Schenectady was on her own vacation. By 1, Linnea had called the elderly neighbor across the street. The elderly neighbor was allergic to dogs. By 1:30, Linnea had called 2 of Marin's mom friends from preschool. Both ghosted the call. By 2, the Labradoodle had urinated on the imported jute rug. Trent canceled the rest of the morning's calls. They missed the resort transfer at 3. They rebooked for the next day at a $1,500 change fee. Linnea drove 20 minutes through traffic to take the dog. Linnea brought a bag of Noelle's old kibble from her own pantry. Linnea did not say anything about Noelle being away. On the 2nd day in Edinburgh, Noelle and Delphine ate a long breakfast at an old hotel. There was a paper menu and a silver coffee pot. Delphine ordered the kippers and a soft-boiled egg in a porcelain cup. Noelle ordered the porridge with whiskey cream and a pot of strong black tea. They sat by a window that looked out onto a wet stone street with people in raincoats walking a small dog. Neither of them spoke for the first 10 minutes. Delphine asked Noelle a question nobody had asked her in 17 years. Delphine asked what she did for fun. Noelle laughed at the question. She did not have a clean answer ready. Delphine waited. Delphine did not fill the silence with her own opinion. Noelle said she liked old hotel breakfasts. She said she liked walking. She said she liked finding things her mother had described and seeing them for herself. On day 3, they drove north. The sky was 3 shades of gray at once. They stopped at a small village for petrol and Noelle bought a postcard for nobody in particular. She tucked it inside the hardcover book beside the yellowed photograph. Delphine drove the second leg with a Springsteen tape in the deck. Noelle put her feet on the dash. Noelle did not check her phone for 9 hours. Meanwhile, in Tulum, Marin was filming a sunset reel on the beach. Trent was on a call with a regional rep about Q4 toner shipments. The kids had run off down the beach toward the water. The youngest had gotten sand in his ear and was crying about it. The middle had fallen and skinned his knee on a rock. Marin's reel had been interrupted 3 times. The 3rd interruption made her snap audibly at the camera. Marin posted the reel that night with the caption, "Family is everything." The reel had a video of all 5 of them holding hands at the waterline. The video had been taken by a stranger. Trent had been on his phone in the actual moment. The kids had complained. Marin had cropped out 12 seconds of negotiation to make it look spontaneous. Linnea had the dog at her house. The dog had urinated on the back deck twice. The dog had chewed the leg of an end table that had belonged to her own mother. Linnea had not slept well. Linnea opened her wall calendar on Sunday morning and saw Noelle's handwriting from a year ago on 6 different dates. Pet sitting, house sitting, plant watering, birthday cake pickup. Linnea closed the calendar. Linnea sat at the table for a long time without moving. On Monday in Skye, Noelle and Delphine drove to the cliff path. The bench was where her mother had described it for 20 years. The wind was harder than Noelle had imagined. She wore her grandmother's wool scarf. She unfolded the yellowed photograph of the woman in the green coat. She held it up. The angle matched. Delphine sat on the bench at the bend in the trail. Delphine did not interrupt. She let Noelle stand at the edge for as long as she needed. The wind took the conversation away from them and gave nothing back. After a while, Noelle came back and sat down beside her aunt with the wind at their backs. They shared a thermos of coffee. They did not talk for 40 minutes. On the same Monday, Marin returned home from Tulum a day early. Trent had a Q4 emergency. The kids had a stomach bug from the resort buffet. Marin had 170 unread Instagram comments to respond to. Captain had urinated in the foyer the moment they walked in through the front door. Linnea had dropped him off the night before and had not stayed to greet them. Marin opened the family group chat. Marin sent a long message in 3 blue bubbles. The message asked Noelle to please call her. The message said they needed to talk. The message said this was unfair to Mom. Noelle was eating fish and chips out of newspaper at a quayside in Portray. Noelle did not see the message for 6 hours. When Noelle did see the message, she did not respond. She finished her fish and chips. She wiped her hands on the newspaper. She walked Delphine back to the inn. She set her phone face down on the nightstand. She read her hardcover book until she fell asleep with the lamp still on. On Tuesday, Linnea sat at her kitchen table and looked at her Scotland brochure. The brochure was open to the page she had circled in 1998. The bench, the path, the cliff. She knew what Noelle was doing today. She knew the weather there. She had checked it that morning before her toast. She had also checked the time difference twice and done the math wrong both times. Linnea wrote Noelle an email. The email began, "Dear Noelle." The email ran 6 paragraphs. The email said she was proud. The email said she was sorry. The email said she had not realized. The email said she hoped they could talk when Noelle returned. Linnea read the email 3 times and rewrote 2 paragraphs. Linnea did not send it. Linnea closed the laptop and pushed it away. On Wednesday, Marin posted a carousel titled "A Quiet Reset at Home." The carousel showed a tidy living room, a candle, a book, a glass of wine. The carousel did not show the labradoodle on the back porch where she had locked him because he had peed on the runner again. The comments said, "You are so strong, Mama." Marin read every single one. Marin did not reply to any of them. Trent told Marin on Wednesday night that the Q4 emergency was not actually an emergency. He had used it to come home early because the kids would not stop fighting at the resort. Marin asked why he had not told her. Trent said she had been busy with the reels. Marin did not answer. Trent went to sleep in the guest room. On Thursday in Skye, Noelle and Delphine took a small ferry across a strait. The ferry held 12 cars and 2 small dogs. They stood on the deck in their coats and watched the gulls lift from the rails. Delphine asked Noelle whether she had thought about what she would say when she got home. Noelle said no. Delphine said good. The wind took the rest of their words and dropped them in the cold steel water below. On the same Thursday, Linnea drove to Marin's house unannounced. Linnea brought a casserole. Linnea did not bring the labradoodle. Marin opened the door in workout clothes she had not actually worked out in. The kitchen was a mess. The kids were watching the same screen for the 2nd hour. The smart speaker was playing the same lo-fi loop. Linnea sat down at the Marble Island and asked Marin a question. Linnea asked Marin why she had not invited Noelle to Scotland. Marin said because Noelle was always so busy. Linnea asked when Noelle had last said no to something. Marin paused. Marin said she had not thought about it that way. Linnea said she had not either. They sat at the Marble Island for an hour. The casserole went cold. On Friday in Skye, Noelle bought a small print at a gallery in Portray. The print was a watercolor of the cliff path she had stood on 3 days before. The print cost £42. She had it wrapped in brown paper and tied with twine. She did not buy a souvenir for her mother. She did not buy a souvenir for her sister. She bought one for her aunt, and she bought one for herself. Marin called Noelle on Friday afternoon. Marin's voice was softer than it had ever been. Marin said she was sorry. Marin said she had been thinking. Marin said she wanted to fix this. Noelle was at a small pub eating soup and brown bread. Noelle let the call ring through to voicemail. Noelle ate her soup. Marin called twice more that hour. Marin sent 4 text messages. The text messages got shorter and shorter. The last one was 3 words. "Please call me." Noelle finished her soup. Noelle wiped the bowl with the last piece of bread. Noelle paid the bill in cash. Noelle and Delphine walked back to the inn through a fine drizzle that did not break the silence between them. On Saturday, Linnea called Noelle. Linnea did not say hello. Linnea said she had read every one of Noelle's emails about pet sitting going back 4 years. Linnea said she had not realized how many times. Linnea said she was sorry. Noelle was on a train from Inverness to Edinburgh. Noelle thanked her mother and said she would call when she landed home. Noelle did not say it was okay. Noelle did not say it had hurt. Noelle did not enumerate the dates. Noelle did not list the trips she had pet sat through. Noelle thanked her mother for saying it. Noelle said the Highlands were beautiful. Noelle said they would talk soon. Noelle hung up. Delphine across the aisle did not look up from her paperback for another full page. On Sunday morning, Noelle and Delphine flew home. The flight was 8 hours over the Atlantic. Noelle slept for 6 of them. She woke for the descent. The window showed the gold pre-dawn over Newark and a long thin band of cloud. She did not check her messages. She did not turn the phone on yet. When Noelle landed, she did not go to her mother's house. She did not stop by Marin's. She drove Delphine home. They unloaded the suitcases. Delphine handed her the brown paper-wrapped print and said, "This is yours. You bought it for both of us." Delphine made coffee. Noelle stayed an hour. Noelle drove home. While Noelle was unloading her car at her own apartment, Marin was sitting alone in her open-plan kitchen. The kids were in the basement. Trent was on a call in the back office again. Marin scrolled through her own Instagram grid. The grid was beautiful. Marin had 38,000 followers and 12 brand collaborations on her resume. Marin had no one in her contacts she could text without an opening pitch. On Monday morning, Noelle made tea in her own kitchen. She unpacked the suitcase. She hung the wool scarf on the hook. She framed the watercolor print and hung it above the corkboard where the yellowed photograph used to be. The yellowed photograph went into the hardcover book on the shelf. She made breakfast. She opened the notebook. She wrote one sentence in the notebook. She did not write what had happened. She did not write what had been said. She wrote the date and the name of the village and the name of her aunt. She drew a small star beside the entry. She closed the book. She set it on the shelf with the others where it belonged. Marin texted Noelle on Monday afternoon. Marin asked whether they could talk. Noelle replied with a single line, "Not this week." Marin texted again Tuesday with the same request. Same answer. Marin texted again Friday with a longer plea. Noelle did not reply on Friday. Marin called twice on Saturday. Noelle let both ring through to voicemail and did not listen to either. By the second week of November, Marin had unfollowed Noelle on Instagram. Marin had also blocked her own ring light tripod from her last reel because Trent had tripped over it and broken the lens cap. Marin filmed her next reel handheld. The reel did poorly. Marin deleted it. On the same day, Noelle had dinner at Delphine's house. Delphine roasted a chicken with rosemary from the windowsill pot. The watercolor print of the cliff path now hung in Delphine's hallway as well. Framed in narrow black wood, they drank a small glass of wine each and split a square of dark chocolate. Delphine told a story about a postal route in 1992 and a goat named Wallace. Noelle laughed 3 times in 15 minutes. Linnea called Noelle the 3rd Sunday of November. Linnea asked whether Noelle would come to Thanksgiving. Noelle said she would not. Linnea did not push. Linnea said she understood. Noelle was at her own kitchen table with a long sheet of clinic invoices in front of her. Noelle thanked her mother for asking. Linnea hosted Thanksgiving without Noelle. Linnea set 7 places, Marin and Trent and the 3 kids and Linnea and 1 empty chair at the end. The empty chair stayed empty all evening. Linnea did not move it. Marin did not film a reel. Noelle and Delphine ate Thanksgiving at a small bistro with white tablecloths and 1 candle on every table. They had roast duck and a shared dessert with 2 spoons. They were home by 9. Noelle drove Delphine to her front door and walked her up the steps. Delphine kissed her on the forehead the way no one had since Noelle was 6. Noelle drove home with the heat on and the radio playing soft jazz the rest of the way. On the Friday after Thanksgiving, Marin sent Noelle a long voice memo. The memo was 16 minutes. Noelle did not listen. Noelle deleted it. Marin sent another voice memo 3 hours later. Noelle did not listen. Noelle deleted it. Marin sent a third. Noelle did not listen. By December, Maureen had paused her brand. Her last post was a quote graphic on a beige background. The quote said, "Sometimes family is where you are safest." The post had 400 likes and 92 comments. Most of the comments asked whether everything was okay. A few asked if she needed help. Marin did not respond to the comments. Marin turned off notifications for that post. Trent moved to the guest room permanently in December. The kids noticed in the second week. The youngest asked his mother why Daddy slept downstairs now. Marin did not have an answer prepared. Marin said it was because of his snoring. The youngest did not believe her. The youngest told Linnea on the phone 2 days later. Linnea did not tell Marin that she knew. Linnea called Noelle on a Tuesday in mid-December. Linnea did not ask for anything. Linnea told Noelle that Trent had moved to the guest room. Linnea said she did not know what to do. Noelle said she was sorry to hear it. Noelle did not say anything else. Linnea sat on the line for a long minute, breathing into the receiver. Linnea said thank you for not gloating. Noelle said you are welcome. On the 3rd weekend of December, Noelle went with Delphine to a small Christmas market. They bought hot wine. They bought a wool hat each. They watched a young girl ice skating in an outdoor rink with her father. Delphine said she had always wanted a daughter. Noelle said you have one. Delphine did not answer for a moment. Delphine took her hand. On Christmas Eve, Marin sent Noelle a long handwritten letter. The letter arrived in the mail. The handwriting was careful. The letter ran 3 pages. The letter said many things Marin had never said before. The letter asked Noelle to come for Christmas dinner. The letter said it would be different this year. Noelle read the letter twice. Noelle folded it into thirds. Noelle put it back in the envelope. Noelle wrote a short reply on a single index card. The reply said, "Thank you for writing." The reply said she would not be coming for Christmas. The reply said she hoped Marin's children had a beautiful day. Noelle stamped the card and walked it to the mailbox at the end of the block. On Christmas Day, Noelle and Delphine cooked a small dinner together at Delphine's house. They roasted a small lamb with garlic and lemon. They lit 2 candles on the dining table. Delphine wore her good earrings and a sweater the color of cranberries. Noelle wore her grandmother's wool scarf at the table even though it was warm inside. They opened 1 present each. A print on the wall watched them eat. At Linnea's house that same Christmas afternoon, there were 5 places at the table. Trent had taken the kids back to his sister's house for the day. Marin sat at the table with her mother. They ate a small meal. Marin did not film. Linnea did not ask about the brand. They cleared the dishes together in a silence that did not feel companionable. In the second week of January, Noelle finished a small quarterly bookkeeping job for a new client. The client paid in full on time and added a tip of $200 in the memo line. Noelle deposited the check at the credit union by the post office. Noelle opened her bank app on the walk back to her car. The savings line had refilled past where it had been before the trip. She closed the app. She made a cup of tea. She sat by the window. On a Saturday in late January, Delphine drove over with a small box of pastries and an envelope. The envelope contained 2 airline tickets to Lisbon for the following October. Delphine said she had used the last of her pension lump sum on them. Delphine said it was a gift, no thank yous required. Noelle held the tickets in her hand and did not say anything for a long minute. Delphine watched her face the way only one specific person had ever watched her face. Noelle made a small dinner for the 2 of them that night. She poured red wine into the good glasses she had bought herself for her last birthday. Delphine told a story Noelle had never heard about her own grandmother in 1961 and the postcard from the Isle of Skye. They laughed twice. They sat at the table for 2 hours. Outside the window, a thin snow began to fall against the maple branches. After Delphine had gone home, Noelle washed the 2 wine glasses by hand. She set them on the rack to dry. She walked to the front door and locked it for the night. She turned out the kitchen light. She stood for a moment in the dim hallway and looked at the framed watercolor of the cliff path on the wall. She did not check her phone. She did not open the notebook. She did not look at her bank app. She walked into her bedroom. The Scotland brochure her mother had circled in 1998 sat folded inside the hardcover book on her shelf where the yellowed photograph used to live. The bench at the bend in the trail belonged to her now. The list of dates had stopped at 14 pages. Nobody was waiting to be apologized to. The light went out.